Right, welcome back to another van build video, everyone. This video is about the floor. The weather conditions today are a little tricky. I'm hoping just to get this done in one hit. The problem is that if it rains, we sort of track a little bit of dirt and mud and stuff in on my boots. The plan is here, I've got some 6mm marine ply, and what we're going to do is put some foil insulation that I touched on in the last video down, and then we're just going to lay it straight on top. It's not going to be bolted down. I didn't want more holes in the floor, things like that. It's of course going to have everything on it. I have heard quite a few people say just chuck it down because it's not going to go anywhere. Then it's going to be fiberglassed over. We're going to do a big resin art floor. It's going to be a combination of wood grain, white and blue, so it should look really good. As mentioned, just trying to work a little bit around the weather today, get all the templates done and then get this floor down. It won't actually take too long to do. It should only take sort of 20 minutes or something to actually put the fiberglass down and actually lay the floor. Okay, she's going to be a 3-piece floor. Shouldn't be too much mucking around. I've just got another piece to go in here and another piece to go in there, which are actually already cut. Right, templating is done. One thing I will note is because the edge of the plywood here is not on one of the high bits, I'm just going to run like a 6mm strip of ply down through this just to help with it, stop any sagging on the edge. I'm not going to run any other wood under here except for that insulation. But just this one strip to stop the sagging. Okay, let's talk fiberglass cloth weights. If you don't know anything about fiberglassing and epoxy resins, I won't go into too much detail here, but I make a lot of skim boards, so I'm very accustomed to using this. It's gonna obviously want to do a bit of a different floor in this, something very hard wearing and something waterproof. I kind of decided to go with fiberglass purely because I use a lot of it. It's going to look good, and it's pretty straightforward to do. This here is about a 200 gram weight cloth. This is probably what I'm going to use, just on first thought. This here, you won't be able to tell on camera, is a slightly lighter. I think this is about 100 gram. What this means is that the actual cloth weight is half. It's going to use less resin, but it's also not going to be as wear resistant. Again, probably wear resistancy in the floor of a caravan, not really probably on the really important priority list, but I just really like using that cloth. And this here is like some 300 gram. It's much heavier to pick up, much heavier everything. So again, you're just going to use more resin. It's going to be heavier. You're talking maybe half a kilo or something over the floor of the van, or a kilo or something like that. Like not a lot. Quite good to work with, but it's going to suck up a lot more resin. This here is the stuff that I believe I'll be running with. Quite simple. You just roll it out over the template of the floor, cut it out. I'll cut it at sort of a little bit bigger than the actual floor plan, and then we just use a spatula like this to squeegee all the resin out. Pretty straightforward if you know what you're doing. Very simple, very cheap, relatively cheap to do, and it'll look really good. Right, next on the list, all I've got to do is primer the actual underside of these. The top will stay bare, just to help with waterproofing and sort of moisture resistance. This is only going to take 10 minutes to do the bottom side. We've got to let them dry, then it goes into the van and we do it. What we're trying to do here is actually have minimal overlap down the seam. We'll go for about 20mm or something like that. Cloth, because it has a weave, you can't just pull it. You can't just like pull it up here to shift the whole thing over. Because of the weave, it'll all twist on you, so you've actually got to be quite careful and probably methodical in how you lay it out and sort of shift it around the place, because last thing you don't want is it all to twist and sort of go like this. Right, so we've just sanded it just to give it basically a bit of a clean, make sure the surface is all smooth and there's nothing sticking up. All we're going to do now is lay the cloth down and then put the resin down. Right, this is epoxy. It's all West System epoxy hardener. We've got 3 tins here to pour resin out of. I'm not sure of the actual quantity we're going to be using. We need gloves on. All as I'm going to be doing it is spreading it around with that rubber squeegee. Pretty simple, obviously very easy to do if you know what you're doing. We're going to be going wood grain, which is just clear epoxy. We're going to be using white oxide powder, very simple, very cheap. And we're going to be using this blue, which when you see it mixed, it's a very vibrant blue. So basically we just start mixing. Danny's going to basically pass me tins, and we'll just start getting it down. That's what it looks like with the first coat down. And basically all that happens from here is that we'll do a little tidy up. This basically sits down, I can't touch it for a day. And then it'll get another coat just with a little roller. We'll put another layer of resin down and just give it a final sand up, and that's the floor done. It is floating there, so we may just throw another screw or two into it to hold it when we're building everything out. But yeah, that's what it looks like. We'll show you a final product probably in the next clip or two. Okay, floor progress. The floor is cured right now. You can probably tell I'm sitting on it. So basically that means we got some rock hard fiberglass layer down. The next step from now is I've got to get one more layer of resin down. No cloth, nothing like that. So what we're going to do, we're going to hit it with an orbital sander. Got a nice rough pad here to really give it a good scuff up, good sort of clean. That will remove any sort of rough stuff on the surface. Get all the dust out of here. And all I'm going to use is a little 4-inch foam roller and just put a clear layer of resin down. That'll only take 5 or 10 minutes to do. It's quite just a lot like painting, and that'll just give it one sort of fill-in coat on the floor. We're not going for a gloss finish or anything too flash, purely because it's a floor. Like literally probably half or more of this floor is actually going to be covered up and isn't going to be seen most of the time. So that's probably one deciding factor. And again, like, it's just a floor. I want it to be rough and ready, kind of. It's just going to be a matte sort of finish which will match kind of the rest of the van. There'll be not too much gloss in here. So we'll get into this. Right, and then we have what is basically a finished result on the floor. Pretty happy with how it's turned out. Color wise, it sort of suits the style of the van. Going to be a very hard wearing, basically gloss free finish to the floor. All of this will get now is pretty much a little touch up once. Basically everything else is built around it. Might throw a couple of little extra screws in it. But yeah, that's it. That's how I've done a resin art floor. I know well, I haven't seen actually any van builds with a floor just like this. Not even sure if it's a good thing yet, but well, I guess we'll find out in the long run. Follow along for all the other build videos that are coming up shortly. Probably the next video will be paneling, and then we're on to the solar and all the seats and stuff like that. I'm Sam Price. I will see you at the beach.